Your magazine, which your filthy crew sent me a whole box of your screw magazine.
So you read it till you get it right, Wally.
I read it.
So you have someone read it to you, Wally.
I looked through your magazine and I threw up.
Of course, Wally. Of course, Wally. You would. It's straight sex, something you know nothing about.
Hey, you know, in your biography.
Who read it to you, Wally? Who read it to you? Come on, Wally. Who told you? It's in English.
Hold on.
Welcome back to another edition of Men with the Show. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, share. Thank you for all of you who have been with us. We're about 40 short of 600. That's 40 subscribers. You know, I hope today is the day I earn your subscription. You know, that you hit that button. I've earned that hit on the button there and the subscribe below. No matter whether it's here on YouTube, Odyssey, BitChute, or on Rumble. Remember, I tell my viewers, pick another site on there as a backup, because who knows, especially with the shit that's been going on the last couple of weeks, especially what happened with Nick Rekieta on there. You never know that we'll get, you know, shut down at this point. But we ain't going anywhere. We got other places where we are showing programming, and hopefully you'll stay with us, you know. And I thank for you those who have been with us all this time. Now, back in my youth, when I worked on public access, I met a lot of people. And I told you I worked in the other half of that. I worked in the adult industry, in the back-end productions, as far as the final edits and the distribution end to home video. In between that, as I was in my freshman year of high school, sophomore, junior, and senior year in high school, you know, I worked public access and all that. Now, back in my public access days, and you've seen some of the videos on the Robin Bird videos that we've talked before on there, there were many others that had adult shows on these channels. One of the main ones out there, one of the biggest ones on there, was Midnight Blue. That was one of the biggest shows on there. It was on Channel J at the time. In fact, you can get it on DVD these days. You know, the clips of the old show. They're not in great condition. It's the same thing like with us with Rabbit T. Rabbit. They're not in great condition, but they're watchable. They are really good. Some of them are great interviews with big celebrities. Gilbert Gottfried, Al Lewis, you know, Penn Jillette, many others that have been on the show, including adult stars. Another part of the Midnight Blue, which was run by Al Goldstein. Al Goldstein was also a publisher at the time. Back in New York in the old days, we had many different magazines out there, The Village Voice and many others. And then there were adult type magazines out there as well. One of the big ones at the time, which was a little bit of cartoonish, sex, the whole situation on there, interviews, great articles on this, similar to the Village Voice in some ways, is Screw Magazine. Now, if you're not familiar with Screw Magazine, this was one of the top adult newspapers that was sold on the newsstand, and basically it had a great run. Now, the reason why it wasn't around anymore is because there was a major lawsuit that took down Al Goldstein. Basically, his whole empire just collapsed toward the end before his death. Now we're getting word that basically it looks like that Screw Magazine, I guess whoever has the rights to it now, and I got to find out because I know there are some people that are even here on YouTube that used to work on, you know, with Al Goldstein. I have to see who is in charge now. Screw Magazine to resume printing editions in January of 2023. This is out of XBiz. Screw magazine will return to print in January after nearly a 20-year hiatus. The magazine was founded in 1968, will feature full color formats, and will be printed in quarterly in limited quantities. It has been nearly 20 years since the legendary Screw logo graced the covers of the print magazine, says a rep. Unlike the original black and white newspaper tabloid versions, the new magazine will be printed in a typical full glossy magazine format. Each new edition will cover will feature original art by contemporary cartoonists, street artists, keeping up with the magazine's long-standing tradition of artful covers by legendary artists like R. Crumb, Renee Moncan, Spain Rodriguez, Danny Hellman, and with Banksy to be featured on the January 2023 issue, the rep continues. Each issue will be dedicated to one adult studio, including photos, interviews, and commentary from that studio's directors, producers, and stars. The original Screw departments will be represented, including the Screw You, Mr. Screw You, Dirty Diversions, and Smut from the Past. With all the spam, privacy, and credit card issues happening online, we feel it is a great time to return to our roots and time-tested tradition, comfort, and the safety of porn in print, says publisher Phil, and sorry if I pronounced this wrong, Adielano. Several adult studios have expressed their interest in having their own edition of our legendary publication. For us, it's just a matter of deciding who to feature first. The new version of the magazines will run 36 pages and will retail for $25. And I think, what is it? Studios interested in being featured? Yeah, they have it on there. For more information, visit Screw Online and on Twitter. So I would assume they're back into business. It'd be nice to see the Screw You. Now, if you're not familiar with the Screw You, back in the day, and even Al did it on Midnight Blue, when it came down to if he didn't like something, whether it's, I mean, he even didn't like Donald Trump at the time, and this is back in the 80s. I mean, he's had battles with the owner of David's Cookies, certain restaurants, luggage, airlines, you name it, he has done it. And he's always given the FU, and always at the end of every episode.
Fuck you, BMW. Kentucky Fried Chicken, you lying, fraudulent scumbag.
And it just basically every time he's done it, and he's done this, which is the Screw You version of it, and you know, to have this come back, you know, it's great. And people say, well, it's just smut and all that. No, there were some great articles. You know, the old joke says, well, yeah, Playboy had some great articles, and which was true. Yeah, you threw some sexy girls in there, and that's fine. But one other thing with the Screw magazine, and as I said, you had guys like R. Crumb and Renee Moncan and Spain Rodriguez who had done artwork on there, some great artwork. A lot of it was a little risque, sexy, stuff like that. I'm trying to find some issues and we'll put it up on the corner here in the screen, that we're able to do, and we won't get flagged by YouTube. But there was some great stuff, some great animation. I would put it to the point, it's almost like a Fritz, if you're familiar with Fritz the Cat, you know, you get some crazy stuff like that. You know, some of it was politics, you know, at the time, because there's some stories that were dealt with politics. So you had, you know, animation, overdrawn, as would say, you know, mimicking politicians, presidents, actors, actresses, you know, the whole gambit of the situation of what was going on at that time period. You know, most people that they hated Al Goldstein, I mean, he put out a good show. Midnight Blue was a great show, and Screw Magazine was a great publication at the time. And it was back then. You know, it dying out the way it died out, you know, it kind of left a lump in the industry itself. Same thing would happen with the Village Voice. I mean, if you're not familiar with the Village Voice, Another great newspaper at the time that dealt with, the local neighborhood down in the village, down in 8th Street and everything like that. And they had their section of adult stuff like that, in the back pages. Where sort of if you know the situation with Backpage.com, before Backpage.com and the internet and all that, you had to go to newspapers like Screw Magazine and the Village Voice to find, if you're looking for companionship, if you're looking for a stripper or something of that nature, or as they say, the thousands of massage parlors that were in the time period on there. Not saying that any of them were legal or illegal, which we can't say that, obviously, because we don't know. But understand, these were the papers back then. These were the publications that just went in depth, better than the Post, the Times. Look at the way, the papers are today. The major newspapers are today. And then think, if the Village Voice had survived, and like I said, the Village Voice I think is on his way back if it hasn't come back yet. If Screw Magazine survived the fall and stuff like that, what would those papers be like today? And there are many other papers. That was the one big thing in New York. We had a gambit of newspapers that handled adult stuff, that handled the local scene, the underground scene, the club scene, many different things that were going on at the time. Some of them were free, some of them were buck. They came out, a lot of them came out once a week, like Screw Magazine did. I think Screw was once a week. Village Voice was once a week. Village Voice, I remember, was like every Wednesday. And I think originally they used to be free, and then they had to start charging because costs were going up. And I noticed this is out of Miami. I guess because basically what was left of Al Goldstein's legacy was down in Miami way. Because I remember one thing, because when I was living in the 90s out in Pompano Beach, Florida, Goldstein had bought a house on the Intercoastal, and he bought a float that, because the neighbor, he had got the house, and then he built a store that sold tobacco and adult magazines and stuff like that. And this is before his fall, and people didn't like it. So he had gone down and he saw something in Key West, a float in Key West, and he went out and bought it. And it was a giant middle finger. It was I forgot what parade it was at the Key West parade. And it was a giant middle finger. So he bought that middle finger and put it on the Intercoastal, and it pissed people the fuck off. And that was Al Goldstein at the time. Whether you like the guy or not, it's the same thing like Trump. Whether you like the guy or not, the guy had some style to his nature. I mean, as disgusting as Al Goldstein was at the time, hey, he was Al Goldstein, and that was the one thing on there. I worked with a lot of the other people that he worked with, some of his producers and stuff like that, because they moved on to do other things outside of Midnight Blue and Screw Magazine. And some of them are not with us today. And, I worked with them, and they were really good to work with. Very intelligent. They had their own shows on public access as well. And I tell you, one still alive today, which was the voice of Midnight Blue. He has his own YouTube channel, and he talks about things. I'm hoping that, I am in sort of semi-contact with him. I want to get him on the show to talk about things like this if he wants to talk about it, because he doesn't talk about it like he used to. But let's see what happens. See if we can get him on the show. So let me know in the comments below. Have you ever, are you in my age group that knows this magazine? Are you glad it's back? Have you heard the stories of this magazine? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, share, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you for tuning in, and bye-bye now.